4 days like no other.
Who are the punters backing?
It's the one we've all been waiting for.
World-class racing.
The greatest show on turf. The calm before the roar.
Betfred, at the heart of Cheltenham.
Hello and welcome to Betfred on day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival. Yesterday belonged to the Irish on St Patrick's Day with 6 winners, and a British trained winner is trained by County Cork-born John Joe O'Neill as well. Tiger Roll roared once again, put the kettle on, won the feature, and Tanya Stevenson tipped up 33 to 1. Heaven help us. Do we need divine intervention today, Tom?
We're only at the halfway point, but I tell you what, if the entertainment in itself matches what we've seen the last 2 days, we're in for some treat today, because worked through yesterday, what a shame there wasn't a crowd there. Because imagine the atmosphere and the sheer energy that would have been coursing, not just through 60,000 people in Cheltenham Racecourse, but in the shops. Just imagine the betting shops, the atmosphere that would have been prevalent, because it was just stories everywhere you looked. Tiger Roll coming roaring back. How many Cheltenham Festival wins? Astonishing.
Festival win. He's back. All right, let's not go on about it too much. But surely after that performance, he'd probably be 5 to 1 for the Grand National now, wouldn't he?
He should get 2 statues. And yes, it's a crying shame we're not going to see him in the Grand National, but that's written in stone. That won't be reversed. Hopefully we will see him this week next year back in Cheltenham, because he'll be 12 years of age then. Time waits for no man, but he's more than a little bit special. And when you worked through yesterday, what about horses for courses? Put the kettle on. That redoubtable mare. How many times has she been to Cheltenham?
She's
4.
tough.
How many times has she been in the winner's enclosure? 4. Something else.
A quick one. Are the Irish horses considerably better than the British? I mean, Nicky Henderson hinted at it after the Dublin Festival, didn't he?
They do have if not a monopoly, they do have a lot of purchasing power, and they've also got some outstanding trainers, big and small. And the big owners are very, very happy to cross the Irish Sea and see their horses trained over there. And see, for example, the Morans, who've been in the Elliott/Foster stable. Look at Rich Ritchie. OK, he's got Royal Pagaille with Venetia Williams, but the majority of his string, for example, are with Willie Mullins. Look at JP McManus. Yes, he's got lots of horses in Britain, but he's got a lot of his best ones there in Ireland. They've got the quality, they've got the quantity, and of course they've got the skill and the expertise. And don't forget, in Ireland, there are loads of people I know watching in Ireland right now, watching the Betfred Morning Line. Horse racing courses through people's veins. You meet people, they don't need a pint inside them to tell you. A fellow will confide in you and say, look, I love horse racing like I love my mother. And they will go into a betting shop and they'll stay there for the social, for the atmosphere, for the conviviality, but of course they love backing winners as well.
Tanya Stevenson gave that lovely 33 to 1 winner yesterday. Fred gave you those lovely pushes yesterday. Bob Ollinger, well, you had no concerns there, did you? Look at that. 6 to 4 SP. Fred went 9 to 4. He's back at midday today. And Sir Gerard, look at that. 5 to 2, Fred went 5 to 2 and won the bumper. Right, that was yesterday. It's another day. Another 7 races, and the feature is the Stayers Hurdle.
Hill sees it out strongly. He's won all his races this season. Now he's won the Sun Racing Stayers Hurdle.
And Listener Oscar has taken the Stayers Hurdle. And Balco de Flo takes the Ryanair Chase.
It's Frodon and Bradley Frost. A match made in racing heaven. Min is hanging on grimly to win the Ryanair.
Your watch isn't wrong. It was actually St Patrick's Day yesterday, but Cheltenham always make St Patrick's Day on the Thursday. But let's be honest, so far this week, the Irish are celebrating every day at the Cheltenham Festival. Matt, what are the conditions today?
Yeah, so same as yesterday, Mark, when the Irish dominated, as you say, 11-3 they lead in the Prestbury Cup. But we are good to soft still. Got rid of those soft places yesterday morning. Good to soft. It's only going to go one way. It is going to tighten up. It is going to get quicker because it is dry for the rest of the week. We've got some extra place races then for you today, and plenty of them as well. The first one is the Pertemps, the 155, the 3-mile handicap hurdle. We are paying 6 places in that one, as you can see right now. On the stayers hurdle, we have 4 places on that. Paisley Park looking to regain his title against the reigning champion Lisnagar Oscar, with 4 places each way on that. In the 340, the plate, we're also 5 places on that. That is a competitive contest. 345 places on that one. In the Marsh Novices hurdle, the Winnie Mullins benefit contest, with 4 places on that as well. The Dawn Run. And then in the Lucky Last as well, the Kinmure, we are 5 places on this one as well, the 3¼ mile. Usually for the amateurs, obviously for the professionals this year. So lots of extra place races, 5 extra place races of the 7 this afternoon, Mark.
Is that a new jacket, Matt?
No, it's... I think the moths have had it in the cupboard.
Seems to be a nice fit on you.
Snug.
Are you sure you're not borrowed someone else's jacket by mistake?
I'm going to go and check the cloak in a minute, yeah.
Right, let's go to Cheltenham for the first time this morning and join our man at the track, Rupert Bell.
Well, morning. Welcome to day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival. Looking out over a sun that's trying to break through, and the ground staff down below preparing the different track that they're using now, the inside part of the course for the next 2 days, just getting all the preparations ready. The ground is described as good to soft. We've got 2 huge races today, the Ryanair Chase and the Stayers Hurdle. Both look really intriguing. We've had so many good stories this week. Probably the best story would be if Paisley Park was able to fly the British flag, which is somewhat limp this week with the Irish completely dominating. That would be a great story, but I do think Lisnagar Oscar's got a huge chance to defend his crown. And also looking at the Ryanair Chase, well, I'd love to see Imperial Aura come out on top. But whatever, the scene is set for hopefully another fantastic day's action on the track.
Thanks to Rupert. So there is your menu for today. Let's rejoin a man who loves a menu. Have you got any questions for us, Matt?
I have, yeah. We just touched on the Irish domination, of course, but it could have been a little bit different. I think the Skeltons have had a luckless run. They've had a great year. They've had plenty of hard luck stories, haven't they? And Tom, we've got Chris from York asking about the rides Harry gave. He's unlucky on Nubia Negri yesterday, and obviously a lot of the jockeys, I think, were guilty of letting Rachel Blackmore having a free rein in the bumper, and he flew home on LS Bell.
Oh, I think it's easy to criticise jockeys, especially when you're sat there with a betting slip in your hand.
I agree what's just been said. Let's not forget that maybe the most unbalanced and unwarranted piece of jockey criticism came at this fixture 12 months ago when Jamie Moore had the most luckless experience on Goshen at the final flight of hurdles.
And I think we've seen Goshen's a nutter. And
I think not only is he a nutter, but I think now maybe the people who were hopping up and down, going absolutely bananas at the time, will realise in hindsight that maybe they should have just stayed quiet. So listen, I sympathise. Of course, it's deeply frustrating. Cheltenham, it's hard to back winners. We know that. The jaws of that hill swallow horses up, even if they're given the best ride in the world. So if you feel as if you've been mildly shortchanged by a jockey, maybe getting the fractions wrong, taking the wrong race mid-decision, choosing to go left when they could have gone right, choosing to go on when they should have waited, or vice versa, yeah, it's intensely frustrating. So I get Chris's point, but honestly, I'm a very big Harry Skelton fan. I know there was a few faces pulled originally when Dan came out and began to expand his operation and said, look, take it or leave it, Harry is the #1 jockey and he will ride the vast bulk of these horses. Bridget rides a few, but aside from that, it's really the pair of them, and 95% Harry. He has proven time and time again he is not just a top 3 jockey, but really an elite sportsman, very disciplined. I wouldn't have any problem with Harry Skelton riding any of mine or anyone else's.
And if you look back at, obviously, some of the big races as well, the big fields. All right, the Coral Cup yesterday, Evan Helpers, clearly fantastic. And they don't normally win the Coral Cup like that. But when you get those big fields, they're so tightly packed in, they must hardly see the fences coming.
Yeah, let's also not forget.
So you need a lot of luck as well, don't you?
If you spend enough time in and around that environment, you'll know that the jockeys, there's something, it's unique to Cheltenham, doesn't even exist around Aintree. There's something about Cheltenham that they go harder and faster. There is a certain pressure to perform and make the right decision. And we're talking the most tiny, tiny percentages between success and failure. And then you see the utter borderline bewilderment at young Richie Condon yesterday. I mean, by the way, what Matt was saying, Matt Chapman, he was doing the interview with him post-race on horseback, he was saying, now you can talk. He's notorious as a great character, Richie Condon. His cousin Davey, excellent rider till injury put paid to his career. But, I mean, he really was just genuinely gobsmacked. I mean, that's something that will pursue him round for the next 50 years. People will be approaching him about that in Ireland if he never rides another winner.
Tanya wasn't tipped up by Tanya on this show. We'll hear from Tanya today as well. Right then, let's talk about the first. Goes off at 1:20. It's for Marsh Novice Chase. Now, at the weekend, loads of people were saying to me, Shishkin, Monkfish, Envoy Allen. 2 have gone in, Matt, and we're going to make it 3 out of 3 for the bankers.
Well, look at this, 4-9. He was around about 4 to 5 before Shishkin strutted his stuff in the Arkle on Tuesday. Then Monkfish went in and all the money has come again for Envoy Allen. He's 4-9. He's been to the festival twice before, won the Ballymore last year. And 2 years ago, he won the bumper under Jamie Codd. And I caught up with him because he waxes lyrical about this horse, unbeaten in his career, and he absolutely adores him.
Look at I can't say enough good things about him. He's been fantastic for my career. I've won a champion, at Cheltenham, and I suppose to be associated with such a horse in his the early stages of his career, it's the stuff of dreams. And look at his jumping is fantastic. He's got a great engine, and look, I think he's going to be particularly hard beat here tomorrow again,
I think what's interesting, I'm going to ask Tom this question as well, is did the Elliott team, or the Foster team as it is now, learn with Samco because he was billed up like he was a second coming in the new Arkle? They've played it down a little bit with Envoy Allen.
Oh, are you sure?
Well, I think they have.
Oliver Ireland think he's a second coming again, don't we, Tom?
Well, compared to Sam Crow, the vibes, they haven't built him up, but I think he may just be because he jumps and travels and does everything so easily, Tom.
Well, can I inject one name into that debate, which is Michael O'Leary, who was doing the hyping. It was the owner, wasn't it, who had a few choice remarks about Sam Crow and built him up from an early stage. Don't worry about Sam Crow, we'll talk about him later because he runs today. But in isolation, dealing with this 120. Will he win? Yes, I think Envoy Allen will win the opener. However, a little health check here. As Matt said, 11 from 11, 2 Cheltenham Festival wins already. 164 his rating, so he towers above these on ratings. Everything set fair, should win. But let's just do this slightly in reverse and say, is it a one-horse race and can we kick everything else into the long grass? Is he going to be 100 lengths ahead and smiling at them? Couple of dangers for you. Chancery House, course winner, off the back of a good win at Wetherby. Darva Star, good enough to be placed in a champion hurdle, second in a Grade 1 at Leopardstown at Christmas time. Chatham Street Lad for the great Mick Winters down in Cork. He's a horse who was good enough to come here to Cheltenham in December,
impressive,
albeit in a handicap, but he spread-eagled them. That wasn't a fluke. He's a good horse, and I know he's run stink since at Fairyhouse by comparison, but he'd been on a good winning streak prior to that. And also, and I think the way to play this maybe, if you're sitting at home thinking, well, where's the angle? I've no interest in backing a 4-9 shot, understandably. There are 2 things I think you can do here. Number 1 is just enjoy the race and watch him win and just revel in the excellence that we've seen. That we've seen from Shishkin.
Are you ill?
Shishkin frequently. That we've seen from Monkfish. That these are the 160 plus elite young horses coming through. But there's one other angle, and that's obviously to do what you do, prove you're not ill, and have a bet. And of course,
I'd probably back Chatham Street Lad each way.
Well, Mark, here's the thing. Everybody's going to have an angle on this, and this is the fascinating bit.
I think Envoy Allen's going to win.
I think Envoy Allen's going to win, but what's going to chase him home?
Yeah.
There are 8 runners, therefore there are 3 places. The one that jumps off the page to me, and maybe he'll let me down here and make me look silly, but I think something like, what price, Matt, is Fuzil Raffles?
18s.
18 to 1, and we know about course form this week. He's already won here.
So there you go.
Yeah, do you know what? I think the course form's an interesting thing.
So
I think you need it, but most of them have got course form because the best horses run at Cheltenham.
Just step back a second here. He's 7-2 a place, even if he's beaten absolutely into the car park. If he could just nick third and just find his way around there with a handy ride from Daryl Jacob. Here's a horse who, the first time we saw him in the UK, he absolutely turned under style in Kempton. They took him to Punchestown, he won a Grade 1. 4 times he's run over fences, 3 victories, 2 of them at this track. Henderson already a winner this week. 18-1's a daft price. Crazy.
I want to put 2 things to you about Envoy Allen. First of all, we can discount the late change to another stable. I think that's irrelevant. Look at Sir Gerard yesterday.
Look at Galvin.
Yeah, exactly. So that's irrelevant. So you can discount that. Can you discount that basically Envoy Allen has not had a proper race for a year? In my humble opinion.
Well, I'm not sure some people would thank you for that. Look, you can only beat what's put in front of you, and such has been the margin of superiority. Yeah, all right, they struggle to get him at it. But when he's needed to, as a younger horse, think about him, he's a more robust, more mature, more physically developed, more mentally able horse now. So at the age of 7, you'd like to believe that if he's good enough to turn up in the cauldron of Cheltenham when the crowd was in, he could win not only a bumper, but also a Ballymore. So I don't think that's a fair accusation. Listen, okay. I think he wins. I'm interested in what gets into the front behind
that's
him.
What I'm about to ask you. So I think we're all going to say Envoy Allen. Pick one each way, Tom. I'm going Chatham Street Lad each way. Yeah,
the 2 in the race. Envoy Allen combined with Fuzil Raffles, 18-1.
The big lad in the small jacket. Give us one each way.
Do you know what? I know Envoy Allen jumps well. He's probably going to win, but Sham Blue is one of the best jumping novices I've seen. He didn't really handle the track last year at Cheltenham.
Don't tell Chris from York.
Exactly. Well, I think he could be good.
I think it's easy to slag off jockeys when you're slagging them off through your wallet.
And I think they could have a very good day, this Skelton. Certainly Harry's got 4
Grange Wood, I think, will love the drying ground.
Exactly, yeah. And he's also picked up the ride on the reigning champion, Liz Nagar Oscar, as well. So Sham Blue to get in the frame. But slightly worried about the track, but boy, can he jump.
Thanks so much, gents. Right, let's move on to the 155, the Pertemps. This is tough this year, isn't it? This is very, very tough. I think...
What do you mean, this year?
Well, yeah. Fingal Bay, I think, was the last winner I had. Richard Johnson did a preview with us, didn't he? And he was very, very sweet on Fingal Bay.
He told us.
He won by a nostril, didn't it? Look, I think you could put them all in the hat, pull one out, and probably pull out Milliner. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
And anyone want to comment after that?
Yeah, I do.
How can we follow that?
I'm sucking my teeth because if you're a trends and a stats person like me, I borrow his undersized anorak the odd time, and you will look back and you'll see the last 10 winners of this race.
How's it fit on you?
The cut-off point, snug. The cut-off point was 138 and above. So if you apply that today...
So Milliner's just snuck in?
No, Milliner isn't within £12. So you're absolutely miles out the back there. 138 plus.
Just snuck in the race.
Just snuck in the race, yeah. But into this qualifying system, not even close. You want horses... The trend is that the higher rated horses have come to the fore and the quality is winning and able to carry a higher weight in what's an improving race. So number 12 and upwards. 12's a non-runner, that leaves 11 possibles. You want a horse that's unexposed at the trip. You want a horse at the front of the market, 11-1 or less. And you want a horse who is not only unexposed at the trip, but hasn't had too many tries over hurdles, usually 7 or less. Wrap up all of those combination of 4 factors and you will find the winner over the last decade. Based upon that system, back each way, number 11, Champagne Platinum. 2 from 5, only 5 runs over hurdles. Has the correct rating, hasn't done too much damage at the trip, not too many miles on the clock. Stable had a winner there already this week. I think you get plenty for your cash. And of course, with the extra place, you have to play.
Extra places, 6 places each way, Tom.
And let's not forget, just like the Coral Cup, one of the great betting races of the whole meeting, whatever you do, you're absolutely bananas if you don't back your horse each way in the Pertemps. Champagne Platinum, I think, will give you a proper rattle for your cash.
6 places each way, as we just said, Matt. What price is Champagne Platinum then?
Let's have a look then. He has been nibbled. Nicky Henderson's charge. He was around about between 7 and 8-1, and he is 7-1 right now. So they are 7-1. Here he is in those JP McManus silks. You mentioned Fingal Bay, 2014. He was the last horse to win a qualifier and come on and win this one. He won one at Exeter, and Brinkley won that, and I'm quite sweet on him, and he's not even on the page. There you go, because I've mentioned him. I think he's around about 14-1. So Brinkley for me, but Imperial Alcazar, he won at Warwick Warwick. There we go. Thank you very much. There he is. 16 to 1 as well.
I think that Warwick qualifier is probably one of the best, isn't it?
Yeah, because Come On Teddy was in that, and he's well fancied as well. He was third. He was single figure price as well. And I'm going to mention him again. Spirit of the Games. We talk about Mellon and Min, these high-profile horses. Obviously, Min got off the mark last year. Who goes so close? This is another fella, Spirit of the Games, always runs well at the festival. Interesting to switch him to hurdles this year. He could be an interesting one as well at 16 to 1 for the Skeltons. But yeah, you're right. 6 places each way. I have a couple of darts. I will go for Brinkley and Come On Teddy for me.
Well, just one very quick point off the back of that. Nobody likes a clever dick, but it's funny because very often you'll find that the horses who've been off winning these Pertemps qualifiers haven't quite kept enough up their sleeve. That was classic Chase Day at Warwick that Imperial Alcazar won that. I was in an empty grandstand and he won the qualifier. He came from miles back on really quite sticky, soft ground. And he had a hard race. I know he's had 60 odd days to get over it, but I just wonder if he goes and gets beat by a Nostril today, you'll wish that he just held a little bit back that day. Being placed in a qualifier in the front 6 gets you in. Winning one as emphatically as he did might have cost him this race, ironically.
Can I hear from Tanya in a moment? Obviously, she gave that 33 to 1 winner yesterday with Heaven Help Us, but we've not really spoken about the favourite much. Just tell us about this Imperial Alcazar. I love, as well, the trainer, Matt.
Yeah, Fergal O'Brien, he's an absolute star, isn't he? And he's great on social media. Look, he won this Warwick qualifier, as you say. He's really unexposed the trip. He meets all the trends that Tom was saying as well, and he's a big chance. He's 5 to 1. It could be a big day for connections as well, because I've also got Imperial Aura running a few minutes later in the Ryanair as well. So Imperial Alcazar 5 to 1. The Boss's Oscar laid out for the race. No lucky one in the Mardin Pipe last year, 11 to 2. 7 to 1 Milliner, Mark AR3 a hat into the ring. Champagne Platinum for Tom, 10 to 1 bar.
And Come On Teddy has been well talked about. Look, this is a really good race. Very quickly, again, we spoke about him yesterday. Jordan Gainford could have a huge day, this £7 claimer, because he's on the shunter as well. The Boss's Oscar and the shunter today.
He's a good driver, and of course that £7 claim is going to be absolutely vital from a big weight for the Boss's Oscar. And the shunter, well, it's fascinating that Emmett Mullins has given him a chance on a horse who, let's not forget, not only has he got festival glory potentially at arm's length as stands this morning, but of course there's also £100,000 bonus for having won the Moor Battle Hurdle if he can win at the Cheltenham Festival. So a lot of pressure for a young man, but he's been getting lots of rides from all the right people, so he's very highly rated.
Let's get some more comments and questions. Really easy to do on Twitter or on Facebook. So, Matt, what have you got for us?
Yeah, I've got it's a Lester Jonah. I don't know if that's Jonah from Leicester or his name's Lester Jonah. He says, morning, gents. We've kind of already touched on this, but he says, anything get close to Envoy today, in your opinion? Paul Keeley, the Racing Post, not too complimentary this morning about him. He's worried about the late switch to Henry, but as you said, Mark, I think that's already been blasted out of the water this festival, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think switching stables 2 weeks before makes any difference whatsoever, does it, Tom?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that now. I mean, horses are... there's lots of theories about this. In my experience, having been around them for 40 years, I think horses are generally thick animals that, in a nice way, like routine, and they like repetition, and they like a good standard of care without too much disruption, which is why occasionally, if you take them across the pond to Ireland or they come here, they'll go off their feed, they'll travel badly, they'll get a rough ride, whatever it might be. Yeah. For a horse like this, he's gone from elite to elite.
Yeah, he's gone to Henry de Bromhead here, hasn't he? Yeah.
Exactly right. He's gone to one of the master practitioners.
Fair play to Henry de Bromhead. He's going to let the normal groom lead him out as well, isn't he, today?
Yeah, nice touch. That's actually a very nice touch and a good point, well made. You wouldn't expect it to be a problem, but it's just another little factor. If you were going in with the big stakes at 4 to 9, it's just one more potential wrinkle that you've got to be sure isn't going to surface and upset him. And these are young horses still coming through, gaining experience. He's only run 11 times in his life. It's not like some seasoned, hardened, battled, gnarled old handicapper who's been round the block a million times. One little mistake at this level, these horses are good enough to find him out.
Yeah, look, I agree with that, but also he knows where Cheltenham is, doesn't he? When he's rocked up at the weekend. He's
exactly
been
right.
Twice before.
And delivered twice before, and that's with the crowd in there. So, going back to the original question, listen, the precedent says that with Sir Gerhard, with Galvin, these are both horses that have gone to different stables and have not just flourished, they've turned up at Cheltenham at 1, 2 weeks later. So, you would hope, without a guarantee, that it ought to be absolutely fine.
A few non-runners in the Ryanair now. Dassel Drasher is non-runner number 3. Number 11, Real Steel is non-runner. Number 12, St Calvados, we found out about that last night, is a non-runner. I was looking at this last night. I think this is an I wasn't sure when I had a look at it at the weekend, but I've changed my mind. This is an outstanding Ryanair because I think I can make a case for, well, all 11 of them.
You can make a case.
Certainly a case for 6 of them.
Listen, you can make a case for a whole heap of these, and yet you can probably pull holes in the majority of them as well. Let's work roughly with the market. Willie Mullins looking to hold a very, very strong hand, courtesy of this trio of runners, because he's got the younger horse, Allaho, in the Cheveley Park colours, who comes off the back of beating Ellie May at Thurles. She's one of the leading fancies for the mares race tomorrow. And this is a horse who's been to Cheltenham twice before. Excellent runs. 3rd in the Albert Bartlett, 3rd in the whatever it's called nowadays, the RSA Chase. Gets a new name every year.
Brown Advisory.
Thank you very much. You know the one. But he's also tried his hand 5 times at Grade 1 level and come up short every time. What does that tell you? Inconclusive. Min won this race 12 months ago, but is now a 10-year-old off the back of an absolutely lousy run.
Now, Paul Townend supposedly had the pick of all the Mullins horses.
I'm not sure that's true.
And has gone for Min. Yeah. But you can understand that. You go on a champ, don't you?
I'm not sure I wear that. I'm really not sure I wear that.
Well, then you're saying he's a liar in his blog then, Tom?
No, I'm not saying he's a liar in his blog whatsoever. I think Paul Townend's an elite and very trustworthy sportsman. But I also think that sometimes, as you will know, working for a very likeable but nonetheless persuasive boss, might it be that Rich Ritchie said, Paul, I'd really love you to ride Min? And he might have said...
Yeah, and he's a champ. Well, supposedly, according to his blog,
what I will say, all right, tongue-in-cheek, Min has the most speed of any of these. But he's going to need it today because over the nearly 2.5, extended 2.4, here's a horse who is now 10 years of age off the back of a really, really dislikable run the last day where whatever was wrong, the distress signals were going up from an early stage, didn't get round, pulled up. Maybe that's the thing that saves him for today. Even so, even with his rating of 168, they don't go on forever. I'd like to believe there's going to be a new name on the trophy today. Mellon's a serial bottler who's got all the form, but gets dressed up and never quite makes it over the threshold.
The ground will be suiting Mellon, this drying ground, won't it? But his second 4 times a worry for you, then?
How many times have we been here with the same debate about Mellon? He never quite gets the job done. 1 from 7 over fences, that's not enough. Whereas, and this is where I think it gets interesting, because with the 3 non-runners, we're still to 3 places each way. The locally trained horse, 6 miles from the track in Andoversford, Kim Bailey. He's flirted with the idea of having a winner so far this week. Happy-go-lucky, ran well. First flow wasn't quite happening for him yesterday. This Imperial Aura. If you go back through the trends here, you'll find that 10 of the last 13 winners of this race won or were placed at the previous festival. Yes, that brings in Min, but it also brings in Imperial Aura, who was emphatic beating Galvin in the Novice Handicap 12 months ago. He's 2 from 3 over fences this season. Ground will be no problem, and he's the right age, the right profile, still improving.
Well, let's hear from Kim Bailey on Imperial Aura.
Imperial Aura, the frustrations of Kempton, but you haven't lost faith in this horse. You think we can see it, what he's done. He's talented.
He's hugely talented, and hopefully that'll never happen again. It was a prime case, I think, and David thinks that he just lost concentration going into the fence and saw something. He's that sort of horse. I mean, if you go and watch the rerun of Ascot, you'll find him spending half the downhill fences looking at the camera car beside him. He's a little bit quirky in that respect, but he's hugely talented. He's got a very, very good cruising speed, and on the whole, he's been a very good jumper, and I think he's a very progressive horse. I believe him to be as good as we've had for a while, but he's a different horse to everybody else. He's a different horse to First Flow. If you work the two together, it wouldn't happen. So we sit there praying it's all going to go the right direction.
That's Kim Bailey on Imperial Aura. Right, let's just rewind to last year and have a look at Min winning last year. I know we've spoken about Min, but let's have a watch of last year's race. Tom, so this is Min doing the business.
Well, listen, on his day, what a great horse he's been, and never more so proven than on this occasion where seeing it out best of all, we know that this is very much his thing. But time waits for no man, and the Battle of Hastings was a great story to read about when I was at school all those years ago. But it doesn't mean that there's going to be another one tomorrow. And Min, for all that he has this in his locker, he's another year older, he's off the back of a bad run, and there's a whole host of new, progressive, improving, younger challengers, all wanting to expose any deficiency or any slowing of those wonderful, speedy legs, which have served him so well down the years. He's trained by the right man, he's ridden by the right man, he's got the course and distance form, he's been there and done it in this environment, in this race. Ground oughtn't be a huge issue for him. Yeah, listen, I understand readily why people would side with Min. They go with experience, they go with proven course form and ability, but he comes off the back of an absolute shocker of a performance, and he's 10 years of age. I'm looking for the improving, rising tide of talent and ability to come and actually, if you will, usurp him. And you work through these. We haven't even mentioned Mr. Fisher for the Hendersons, dual course and distance winner.
He was one about to ask you next about.
Well, dual course and distance winner, trained by Nicky Henderson, who's looking for a second winner of the week. Nico de Bonville. How could we possibly get through the festival without at least a couple of de Bonville ridden winners, such as his strike rate and consistency? Sam Crow, unbeaten at the Cheltenham Festival.
That was the next one I was going to ask you about.
Twice he's turned up here and delivered. Kalashnikov, a Grade 1 winner at the Aintree Festival in April of 2019.
So it's not the feature, but this is top class, isn't it?
It's absolutely wonderful race, year on year. People will crib this and say, look, it detracts from the Champion Chase, it detracts from the Gold Cup. I think it's a wonderful specialist race for the horses who thrive at the intermediate distance. Also a very strong and honourable mention for a horse who, lest we forget, is still only 6 years of age. Fakir Dudaries, who back in December 19 went and won the Drinmore emphatically in Fairyhouse. He's a Grade 1 winner. I'd only just be terrified that the drying ground is going to scupper his chance, because he's got so much ability. If you go to Pillstown to Joseph O'Brien's, they absolutely rave about this horse. He's got a big prize in him one of these days. Whether or not it comes on drying spring ground, I don't know. Bits and pieces of chances, more than bits and pieces of chances, for a whole list of these. Rule them out at your peril. However, the festival winner, the horse who's got form at this track of 2-2-1, the locally trained horse, and the horse who's 2 from 3 over fences this season. Yeah, it was frustrating, as Rupert said in the piece with Kim Bailey, that he didn't get further than the very early stage where he unseated at Kempton. Don't be worrying about that too much. I look at his wins at Carlisle and Ascot. Before that, I look at his festival win. Love the chances each way at the prices. Number 6, Imperial Aura.
We're going to hear from Jamie Codd, Matt. Obviously, I want to hear about Sam Crow. He was a second coming, wasn't he, a couple of years ago? But just very quickly, Joseph O'Brien's horse, that's getting backed.
It is, yeah. It's been good money for Fakir Dudery. Just like, no, we are still 4 places on this. 3 non-runners, 11 go to post, but we are still paying 4 places on it. But yeah, let's have a look at the bet. And then Allaho, 4-1, joint favourite now with...
11-2 now, Joseph O'Brien's.
8-1 last night. I know there's a couple of non-runners come out, but look...
Is that the ground?
He's never been out of the first 2 in 11 completed starts for once out of the first 2 in 11 completed starts for Joseph O'Brien. That was 4th in the Supreme, and he pulled up over 3 miles. So he's an absolute solid each-way candidate at 11-2. Let's talk about Sam Crow then. As you can see, he's 2 from 2 from the festival. He looked he was a second coming. 15-2 a year. He's done nothing wrong when turning up at Cheltenham. A man who does know him well, he rode him in his early days, was Jamie Codd, and we discussed him before getting his thoughts on the race.
He's only had 2 runs. He was 3rd behind Battle of Diane over in Down Royal in November. I would say he got hampered at the 3rd last that day, and he ran quite well. He wouldn't have been 100% for that day, but it was a real war of attrition at Leopardstown at Christmas in that 3 mile chase where a Plutard won. You know, and there was a lot of good horses pulled up behind him. I think he's back over 2-5. You know, I think that's his trip. The drying ground will really suit him, and yeah, I think you could see a completely different Sam Crow tomorrow.
Yeah, it's sort of a good chance. I thought it had a good chance. Is there anything else in there you thought may take your eye? I mean, it's just a competitive renewal once again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. Look at it. It's dominated by Willie. I suppose St. Calvados is out now. I think I read Harry Whittingham's horse there that he wasn't happy with the ground. So look at he's he's a big player for it that's gone now. So you're looking for something to take on the likes of Min and Mellon, and obviously Allaho. It's interesting, Paul Townend has gone for Min. A previous winner. I have a sneaky fancy for Imperial Aura of Kim Bailey's. I feel he won the novice handicap here last year, and bar he unseated David Bass the last day in Sandown and or in Kempton, sorry, should I say? And he wasn't completely, that was early on, so he hasn't got a hard race either in heavy ground in Kempton. So he's a horse that I think could step up to the mark in a race like this. He could be an improver, and he's a horse I'd like to keep on side.
Yeah, it's Imperial Aura then for Tom and for Jamie there, 17-2. We mentioned festival form coming to the fore. I just want to put it up at a big price. William Mullins has won 3 of the last 5. I know he's got dominance at the top of the market. What about Tornado Flyer? Well, he length behind Min early on in the season. He's been placed at the festival before. I know he hasn't quite cut at the top level, but I just think this is his right trip. A length behind Min. Excuses for his last 2 efforts. I think he's overpriced at 25-1. But Imperial Aura, 17-2, the pick of Jamie Codd, the pick of Tom as well. But I agree, it's a wide open renewal. You can make cases for any of these runners, and we are 4 places each way as well. It's a real nice each way make-up to the race, Mark.
We will do your selections in a moment. We know Tom's Imperial Aura. But Joe Ross is part of a team. 6 o'clock every night he wraps things up with Matt and has a unique take on the day's racing as well. This is Joe Ross from Sunday night on our preview shows. Very keen on one that Tom's dismissed.
Can I go Mellon, Ryanair? Not
as your best bet of the week.
My best bet of the week, yeah, genuinely, my best bet of the week. And I've said that in WhatsApp groups, and people have gone, what? Not even each way. Mellon, this time, wins.
In the Ryanair.
In the Ryanair. Most complex race of the week.
There we are. So it's his nap of the week, Mellon. But you just think, second-itis, he won't win.
Allaho, Tornado Flyer, Mellon. What have they all got? What have they got in common? They're all trained by the same man. They've all got some sort of clinical aversion to winning Grade 1 races. They keep trying to keep failing. I don't know what Joel's been having for his lunch on Sunday, but I think maybe...
Red wine, I think.
Yeah, I think it's maybe giving him a slightly distorted look. That said, I couldn't have Tiger Roll yesterday, and he just about managed to put his nose in front. So, listen, good luck to Joel.
18 lengths. After being beaten 17 lengths last year by Easy Land.
This is the beauty of Cheltenham.
Yeah,
we're full of opinions, and it's hard to get it right, but boy, is it satisfying when you manage to nail one.
Joel Ross, 6 o'clock every night with the big man. Will you be wearing that tight jacket tonight, Matt? Probably not after all what you eat. What is your selection for the Ryanair?
I do like Fakir. I said he's really hard to keep out of the frame. And I can't resist a couple of quid each way on Tornado Flyer as well. I think he's overpriced.
It's a really, really good Ryanair. I've not made my mind up yet, actually. I like Mellon, Mr. Fisher. Do you know I could back about 6 in this race?
Get your skates on, you've got 5 hours.
Yeah. Matt, you got any more questions for us?
Going on the back of the Ryanair, actually, someone asks, was there ever a more deserving winner than Min last year after 3 good efforts behind Altior? No Altior last year. He comes out and wins the Ryanair. Could it be Mellon doing something similar this year, Tom?
Listen, Cheltenham being what it is.
Deserved winners. I've never heard so much rubbish. Who gives a damn if you've not backed it?
I think I need to get off the subject of Mellon because
it's like when they say, with the heart. I'm not interested in the heart, I'm interested in the wallet.
This could be another Boston Bob moment if Mellon goes and wins today. So, full stop, Imperial Aura each way. Ignore the noise.
Right, let's turn our attention to the feature race. Matt, 6 of 7 races today. We've got an extra place, including the feature race, a Stays Hurdle.
Yeah, we have, and we are 4 extra places on this, or 4 places, I should say, on this, not extra places, on the Stays Hurdle.
Wish we were 4 extra places, yeah. Then I might have a chance.
Right, I think the way to approach this race is the Ryanair is wide open, as you say, and behind Paisley Park, this is the same, but we have got one bona fide Grade 1 horse in here, and it is the favourite. He is 9-4, as I say, to regain his title. He had a heart issue when beaten last year, but he's bounced back to form this year, winning at Ascot, beating the sadly now absent Time Hill, and I think he's got every chance of, say, regaining that crown. Those in behind him are either going to have to step up or show some better form than what they have done in previous years. Lisnagar Oscar's a reigning champion. He took advantage of Paisley Park's below par effort. He's at 10-1, but it's all about Paisley Park for me. 9-4 favourite, but don't listen to me. Let's hear from somebody who knows him very, very well. It is his trainer, Emma Lavelle, as he looks to say, regain that title he won so impressively in 2019.
Emma, just how excited are you about seeing Paisley Park back in full fitness, fighting fit to go back to try and regain his stayers hurdle? I get the sense you can't contain your excitement.
Look, we are excited, and if you're not excited about stuff like that, then you know you shouldn't be doing this. And we're just we've had a lovely preparation with him. Look, it was gutting that we didn't get the cleave. But you know, everything has gone on really well, and he just seems strong and fit, and he's loving life as well.
The sense of relief that after the disappointment of last year that he's come back, was that the overriding emotion when he was back on a racecourse and you could see that he was enjoying and back in love with the sport?
I think it was relief. It was there was so much riding on where we went after that race, what was going to happen for the for his career going forward, and I've always said, you know, he's done so much for us, this horse, that he owes us nothing, and so I just felt that to get him back out there and to see him enjoy it, to see him finishing, was just. It meant so much. So relief, most definitely. I think it's the only race that Barry and I have watched together. Normally he goes one way and I go the other. It's kind of like, I think we wind each other up when we're watching him running together. It was the only time we'd watched the race together, and it just was both of us kind of afterwards. So there was this sort of outpouring of sort of emotion, breath, that it had all gone the way we wanted it to.
Now you know it's all gone well. What's your gut feeling about him?
He looks like a much more mature horse. Barry rides him every day. He says he feels like a much stronger and more mature horse. And he's a true professional. He knows what it's all about, and he loves it. He absolutely loves the battles. Watching other horses working around him and how effortlessly he does it, and will leave sort of horses that we know are nice horses in his wake. I think he is definitely in the form of his life at this stage.
In the form of his life. Tom, would it be a concern that he's not had that run in the cleave? December's a long way. I mean, I can't even remember December. Seems like years ago.
That much is true. Look, it is what it is. The schedule was interrupted around that point in time, and other horses are in the same boat coming into the festival. He's an experienced, hardened former champion who, actually, when we did last see him, I think that's the piece of form to focus on. He went to Ascot and he managed to redeem himself, having been beaten by Time Hill the time before at Newbury by beating that horse in the long walk. Unfortunately, we don't get to see both of them because Time Hill's missing. That strengthens seemingly the chances of Paisley Park regaining his crown. But as a broader picture, he's an older horse now. He was disappointing in this race 12 months ago, and there are new pretenders on the scene, so it's a different complexion entirely.
Well, let's have a look at the race last year. Turned out that Paisley Park actually had a heart problem. Goes to Lisnagar Oscar, 50-1 on last year. A lot shorter this year, currently 10-1, Harry Skelton on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not forget it was Adam Wedge on board last year, but he came out the pack and people were almost looking at the race card going, what's this, what's this? Don't forget Bacardi's in third, who ran a mighty race to be placed in this 12 months ago as well. Paisley Park, with his fibrillating heart, only 7th. Credit to the winner, but listen, this was a bit of a freak because...
Rebecca Curtis actually saying Lisnagar Oscar's in very, very good form.
Yeah, we've seen him at Wetherby, at Newbury, and indeed at Haydock since then, behind third wins since then. But he hasn't managed to win a race since then, and he hasn't actually reaffirmed the form that wasn't a bit of a surprise. Rebecca Curtis, think back, it's nearly 10 years ago now, T for 3 went and won the 4-miler.
Yes, please.
For example, I mean, she's got festival winning pedigree, and he'll be absolutely ready to go. Absolutely, good point, well made. But you work through these. Do you see Lisnagar Oscar as a particularly convincing contender today, despite the fact this is his second run since a wind up? Doesn't jump off the page at me, Mark. There's another fact here as well. And again, I know people kind of pull a face and say, well, stats are only worth so much. However, this is quite powerful. 28 of the last 31 winners, so only 3 excluded, aged between 6 and 8. So all the time, if you listen to Ruby Walsh no less, he will tell you time and time again, very quickly when you talk about horse racing with him, you're always looking not for past form and not for achievements and not for medals on the fireplace and all the sort of gongs and accolades and bits and pieces. You're looking for what's going to happen in the future. It's all very well that he won a horse race 2 years ago at Cheltenham. What bearing does that have upon where he is at this stage of his career as a 9-year-old, when there are younger, fresher, less exposed legs potentially stepping up in trip with more to give? Potentially that's factored into the prices. He was 11-to-8 favourite and raging hot in the market 2 years ago. He disappointed in this race. He's off the back of a hard race. He's had an 89-day absence. I think there's enough question marks there that you've at least got to look at the alternatives.
Let's have a look at some Irish form, because this is over Christmas, isn't it?
This is a horse called Flooring Porter in the Christmas Hurdle, the 3-miler. And this is a horse who's really surprised people because Cheltenham Festival winning trainer, Espoir d'Alain, is Gavin Cromwell, who, with this Flooring Porter, has surprised a few people because when he was winning a handicap in Gorham Park last summer, I don't think too many people saw him flourishing and developing. What I will say is he's not going to get the run of the race from the front, and furthermore, he's not necessarily going to get his favoured soft ground. So he's rated 160, he's trained by very able connections, and he has an each-way chance, albeit, again, there are question marks and variables there. He's not an obvious solution.
That was Fury Road, wasn't it, in fourth in that? So why is Fury Road 92 and Flooring Porter's 12-1?
Fury Road, don't forget, comes from a, if you will, slightly different profile. The last time we saw him was at Navan over 2 mile 5, where actually it looked as if he'd done enough, but he was worn down in the closing stages. And your point's a very good one, because why are those prices the same way round? And therefore, and this is where I think it gets really intriguing in a race where I don't think it's obvious, if you're talking about Flooring Porter and you're bringing Fury Road into the argument, Mark, why then do you not by extension say, well, what beat Fury Road? What outstayed him and got up on the line to nab him that day? It was Beacon Edge. For a stable who've had an 80-1 winner at the meeting this week, Noel Mead. Beacon Edge at Navan the last day came out the clouds and stayed on best of all. He's completely unexposed at today's distance. He's never even tried. And yet everything he's been doing has been suggesting the further he goes, the better he gets. He's only a 7-year-old, 2 years younger than Paisley Park. If there's to be a surprise today, if there's to be one at a double-figure price who comes out and turns them all upside down and people are scrambling around looking at their race cards saying, what's this number 2? To me, I'd take a chance on Beacon Edge. Sean Flanagan full of confidence with a winner already this week. Stable in winning form. This guy with more to give, up in trip. Completely unexposed. He might be the surprise package at massive odds. Matt, what is he? 12, 14, 16-1?
He's 12-1, Tom, as you say. But yeah, I think you're right. Each way forward place, he's got a huge chance, but he's going to go out from the front. And like you say, he's not going to get. The Flooring Porter to Beacon Edge run about with 14-1 Beacon Edge. You mentioned that he's got a £2 turnaround Fury Road. He has been a big gamble, Fury Road. 8-1 into what is he now? 9-2.
Could be the ground end, do you think?
Could be, and also the stable form, because they've been an absolute fire this week, haven't they? There we are, 9-2. So Fury Road has been backed.
This new trainer, Mrs. Denise Foster, is doing quite well, isn't she?
Extremely well, yeah.
Great strike rate. Let's hear from Kim Bailey, who's got vindication in the stayers.
Vindication. That run in the Labrador was obviously frustrating because he went off, I think, one of the favourites, and then he has about 5
Yeah, Vindication is a frustrating horse because I genuinely believe he's a very, very good horse, and he's been my flag bearer really for the last 4 or 5 years, and he's come a long way in a very short space of time. His run at Cheltenham was very good last year, and he went to the Ladbroke this year, and we having schooled him in public, it gave everybody an impression that he couldn't jump, which was really upsetting for me because I know he can do. And he did something in the lab which none of us know what happened. The camera angle wasn't there to see, and David doesn't remember what happened. He thought he'd fallen off him going into the fence, let alone actually falling off him over the fence. So, and then of course he came back lame. He banged his hind legs, so he lost a lot of time. So we are in a situation now where the horse is absolutely fine, but he's not ready to run as we speak. I would have loved to run him at Ascot last Saturday, but we wasn't ready to go and do it. So we go to Cheltenham. He will be fit and ready to run, but I'm not sure at the present moment in time which race I'm going to run him in.
Putting Stayers Hurdle is the other one he's in. So, I mean, do you think that would just be, well, in a way, if you hadn't had a battle-hardened chasers in the Gold Cup, does it feel like an easier option?
Well, it's a different race. I mean, he was a very good hurdler, and we got You Never Call in the race, and he finished not that far behind the protagonist at Ascot. And I like to think that Vindication would be a better horse than You Never Call, so it puts us in with a little bit of a squeak in that race. And I'm going to sit there, and the Gold Cup could change picture, could change enormously between now and then, and so I'm just sitting on the fence.
Well, he's not sitting on the fence now, of course, because Vindication definitely goes for the Stayers Hurdle today. Tom, selection time.
Selection time, respect to Fury Road on that Albert Bartlett form that we touched upon. Respect to the horse that's just been mentioned, but I think the value angle at 14 to 1 each way in a race where I think the favourite looks suspect is Beacon Edge for Noel Mead, second winner of the meeting for him if this horse obliges. Massive price. I'm still not sure. I've not made my mind up. What do you fancy, Matt?
I find this like the Ryanair. I mean, Paisley Park aside, I just think it's
I've not made my mind up about both his races.
I mean, I've got to throw in If the Cat Fits.
I agree. Drying ground, and if you go back to that Aintree Hurdle, which is over 3 miles as well, isn't it? And obviously, being disappointing over the fences, could back over the hurdles. If the Cat Fits, might get going again.
First time cheek pieces as well. They go on today.
I'm a bit worried about the stable form for that. And Bacardi's, I mean, our mate called me mad for looking at Bacardi's, but he loves this race. He always stays on, and he's at 40 to 1, and he was third last year. So, and it's William Mullins' only horse in the race, Paul Tannend on board. But yeah, look, Paisley Park is the one to beat. We could be sitting here about 3:15 thinking, why do we try and make it more difficult? Because he is.
Well, that's what we did yesterday after the cross country, didn't we?
Exactly. He already is a Stayers Hurdle winner, of course, and he's 9 to 4. And apparently, as we just heard from Emma Lavelle, he is back to his fighting best.
Right then, let's have a look at the plate, which is the 340. We're 5 places each way on the plate as well. And Tom, obviously, got to ask you about one in here, trained by your sister, Happy Diva.
She's been an absolute star for the stable. Wow, so lucky to have found her 7 years ago in Ireland. Brought her across as a baby, and it's been an amazing journey. She's won multiple races. She's a November Gold Cup winner in Cheltenham.
I backed her that day. Jumped beautifully, didn't she?
Not only that, she's run very well there this season. Unlucky to crash out with a race that she was improving into. Specifically where this race is concerned, she was second to Simply the Bet's 12 months. Oh, lovely, you got the clip. She ran a smasher this day. She was no match for the winner. The winner was very well handicapped and actually won blowing a raspberry to the rest of them. But you look at the gap back to good, seasoned, solid, really, really tough, battle-hardened handicappers, and she was too good for them if you take the winner out. So that was an excellent run. Based on her 2 most recent pieces of form, Mark, Carlisle and Warwick, you wonder if Old Father Time is just posing a little bit of a question mark. She's almost certainly finished at the end of this season to go off and be a mummy. Loves it at Cheltenham.
I was about to say, look what we saw yesterday. You know, Cheltenham can just re-spark them, can't it?
Oh, this is her track, and she's in the right race. She was also in the Mare's Chase tomorrow. She loves coming through horses and being hustled and bustled and bumped around in these handicaps. She's really very tough. She's not the biggest, but God, she's all heart. And I just hope that this on ground, which will be no problem to her, I hope coming back to Cheltenham can just revive that pre-Christmas form and indeed the form from this day 12 months ago. If it can, she's got a small each-way chance. But don't forget, and this is really crucial because if you try and be impartial equals winners. The last 5 winners of this race, so it's a real solid sample, were either a novice or a second season horse over fences. So you're not looking for a 10-year-old who's probably done her winning, if you're honest. You're looking at something that's actually up and coming, who's about to cause a few surprises, who actually hasn't got loads of miles on the clock and knows their way around Cheltenham. You've been mentioning over and over again the transfer of those powerful horses to Denise Sneezy Foster. We could go through a whole heap of these. I would want to be with one of the younger horses, and one of those, obviously, you just said it, number 7, Farkless.
I can see it right now.
Great stuff, because here's a horse who is a Triumph Hurdle winner at this meeting, albeit 3 years ago. But I think the great thing about Farkless, when you work through, he's only had the 6 tries over fences. He had a huge long injury interruption, but it's still off the back of that. 3, not too much mileage, still only a 7-year-old, and 3 from 6 over fences. So I think when you work through, he's done it on different ground. He's done it at different tracks. He's proven himself a good horse in Ireland against some of the very best over there. But also, he's come back from injury, and that's actually spared him too many hard clashes. He's 7-year-old, but this is only his 7th run over fences, and that puts him neatly weighted on 11 stone 4.
This is the shunter, Tom.
Now, this is the horse that I was really looking forward to talking about.
Going for the bonus.
Going for the bonus, and yet, in the Moor Battle Hurdle at Kelso, what was it? However many days ago, not many, 12 I think it was. In the Moor Battle Hurdle, they went there knowing they had plenty of horse under them. He had to battle like crazy to get his head in front under Squeaky Corley. They claim off him today. Based upon what I saw with my own eyes, my lasting impression of what I saw in Kelso, and I say this as a massive Emmett Mullins fan, anything he brings, I mean, I backed Sneaky Getaway yesterday, anything he brings across, if you look at his strike rate and how well he places his horses, even if they're 100 to 1, don't think they're out with the washing. He's got a bit of magic under his fingertips, Emmett Mullins, and yet this shunter, and these are the kind of proclamations that can come back to haunt you. I don't know what Matt thinks. I thought if I was a bookie going into Cheltenham, the one horse I would want to be against and get into Satchel was the shunter. I know he's got a nice lightweight, 10 stone 12, -7 with the inexperienced rider. I know he's ultra consistent, and I know he's trained by the right man. I thought he went through a bruising battle to get his head in front the last day. He had 5 entries at the festival. Yes, it's a tip in itself that they've gone down this route, but even with the non-runners, he's got 20 other horses around him today. I don't think he'd be in the frame, Mark.
Do you know, I've just look, I might do a multi-bet with all the Joseph O'Brien's ones today. He looks to have a cracking day, couldn't he? Wave of the Sea in this. Selection time then for the plate. It's been very kind to me over the years. Simply the Bets last year. Dana, Salut Flo. What's the winner this year, Tom?
The winner this year was Mark Pearson to mention Dana on at least every day of the Betfred morning line. You got it in eventually.
You mentioned it last time.
Fingers crossed, Great Run, Happy Diva, but the winner, Farclad, number 7.
Champagne Court, massive prices, kind of fits the trends. He's each way. Nick Schofield had a winner yesterday. He's so well handicapped. He's got festival form. Champagne Court, each way, 28 to 1.
Right, we've done this again. We've got 2 minutes to talk about 2 races. Apologies. Let's have a look at the Marsh Novice Hurdle. Well, this is wide open, Matt.
It is, yeah, and a lot of these forms interlinks as well over in Ireland. 11 to 2 the field. Willie Mullins won all 5 renewals, but it's Royal Kahala for Peter Fahy, who's 11 to 2 favourite. Rosie's Hollow is at 6 to 1, beating some of these as well. Hook Up, Galois, all that form ties in. Interesting, John O'Neill Jr. riding for Willie Mullins there. I'm quite sweet on Glens of Antrim, lightly raced. I think he'll appreciate the better ground. There's been a big gamble as well the last couple of days on Tell Me Something Girl. Might have something to do with Rachel Blackmore on board because she's on fire. But look, 11 to 2 the field for the Mare's Hurdle. It's wide open.
Tom, 20 seconds. Give me a selection.
I actually was... My eye was caught, if you like, by this Glens of Antrim. The jockey booking's an unusual one. Willie Mullins has won this the last 5 years, obviously, since it came into existence, and I didn't fancy his first string, so I thought the value there to Fleming's first met Glens of Antrim.
Right, the Kim Muir. I normally just look for Jamie Codd in this race, but of course it's not the amateurs. And Tom, you've got obviously Storm Control in this. Quickly tell us about Storm Control.
I hope we've picked the right race. He was in the Ultima Handicap Chase with 10 stone 10, but obviously the amateur riders can't ride, and that was part of the decision. He can have his usual rider, Richard Patrick, in the amateur riders race, a professional. He's the right age, he's the right profile. He's won on both courses at Cheltenham this season. This is his trip. He's a spectacular jumper. Whether or not there's enough lead in the pencil off that increased handicap rating of 142, we'll find out. But what I can tell you is he's fit and thriving. Trainers will always say, I never seen him better and all that garbage. He is absolutely flying at the minute.
Kimio, your selection, Matt?
I really like Hold the Note. He was also into the Ultimate. We saw him third behind Happy D in that clip there. Back for more. Got some good festival form. I think he can finally lose the maiden tag over fences. Hold the Note. There he is. 15-2.
We haven't got time to hear from Jamie Cobb, but just tell us, who does he tip up and who would he have been on?
Well, he would have been on Mount Ida, coming up through the ranks, stepping up to this trip on the Rill for the first time. He said he was quite sweet at her chances at 11-2, thought that'd go well, but also one that's been really well back. Go Another One for John McConnell. He had a third in the cross-country yesterday. He's won at the track before as well. He's been nibbled. He was quite sweet on Go Another One. And Tony Cairns also, he's sent a message in saying, Mount Ida, what are your thoughts for that one, Tom?
Just yet another one with an each-way chance in a wide-open race. 11 stone 9, first time in a handicap, 1-2 runs ago, if memory serves me right, Mount Ida. Just yet another of those. If you gave me the free bet right now, I'm with you. Second run since a wind-up for the Mick Channon horse, Hold the Note, who just is hammering on the door, waiting to win over fences.
Right, nap time on day 3, Tom.
Is Buddha Scheme in the 220 at Hexham.
At Cheltenham.
I thought you were going to be cruel and do that. I have been consistent throughout in suggesting that each way I'd be very disappointed if Imperial Aura can't at least hit the frame in the Ryanair.
I'm going to tip up Mighty Blue in the mares, the novice hurdle, and I think Joseph O'Brien could have a huge day. Some proper chances today for Joseph O'Brien. So Mighty Blue each way. Matt, what's your best bet today?
Come on, Teddy, each way in the Pertemps for me.
Yeah, it looks wide open, doesn't it? I think Milliner just sneaking in there has got a real chance. Right, really enjoyed it. We're back tomorrow at 9 o'clock, but we're back at midday when Fred will be sat there with his pushes and he's giving you some cracking value this week. Remember, if you're having a better chance this week, please keep it fun, gamble responsibly. We're all back at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're also back at midday for Fred's pushes. See you then.
Who are the punters backing?
It's the one we've all been waiting for.
World-class racing.
The greatest show